Hi everyone, I'm Paul Barron, and I'm honored to have been asked to present a couple short videos for ITG's Learn and Listen series. I'd also like to give a shout out to all the teachers and students who are finding a way to make this very difficult time work, to keep the lessons and the classes going during this time. Since the shutdown, I've been unable to get home and have been living in a small studio apartment, so please excuse my lack of materials. All of my books and my mutes, as well as horns, except for one, have been locked down in a theater. So for me, it's been a sort of creative process as well to make sure I'm trying to keep my chops in shape and ready to go for wherever the next tour is going to pick up and whenever that may be. Who knows? Anyway, so please, everybody, stay safe out there. So I was asked to speak on a topic about how to stay focused during the long run of a show. And I've been very fortunate in my career to be involved in some long running tours. I've not played Broadway per se, but I've done Broadway tours that have lasted 2, 3 years and playing 400 plus shows a year. So I was asked to talk about how I stay focused during all of that time. Being a touring Broadway musician, I don't have the ability to sub out at a moment's notice, like some of the other guys I think on Broadway have that luxury, I guess, capability to be able to do that and sub out. And they've got a stable of really good subs that they can call. On the road, I'm pretty much locked into doing 8 shows a week, and they don't have understudies, as some of the actors have asked us musicians. Well, what happens when you're not feeling well? Do you just send in an understudy, or what happens if you need a day off? Can you just send in an understudy? Well, the answer is no. Um, so I have to find ways to really stay focused. So one of the first things I've discovered for me is if I can get my head out of the book. And what I mean by that is the sooner I can learn all the parts that I'm supposed to be playing. So I've learned my book so that I can glance at the page, but I pretty much have it memorized. I'm still relying on turning the pages and just glancing over to make sure that I'm double checking that I'm in the right spot and I'm playing the right key and so on. Um, that helps get my focus going as well. So I'll try and memorize as much as I can, phrase by phrase, page by page, until I have most of it internalized. Then, when I've got that learned and I'm mostly memorized the part, then I can start listening really intently to the other parts that are being played around me. um, I like to try and focus in on what the reed players are doing if we have reed players, and how I'm working in conjunction with those reed players. Um, for instance, am I on a harmon mute trumpet playing a melodic line along with, say, the piccolo flute? And by getting my focus a little more broad and off the page, I'm able to really listen for that intonation and how that person is phrasing, and hopefully be working even closer together, musically speaking, with that person. And then I'll start listening for the bass lines and see how my intonation is, how my time is with that. I'll start focusing on the drum kit only, and try and focus in even tighter to what just the hi hat and just the snare drum are doing. And in this way, I feel like I'm really getting into the groove, um, and the tempo, and I'm getting even tighter with the rhythm section. So I feel like I'm playing a better show in that way. Other times I'll focus in on what the bass is doing in relation to the left hand of the keyboards, let's say. Oftentimes those lines are being doubled, and how are they being doubled, and what synth patch is being used, and so on. These are all questions that once I'm able to get my focus away from the page and really open up my ears to the whole orchestration, I'm able to focus on more things while still doing my job. Um, Another thing to focus on is the conductor. You know, that person standing up there waving their arms. Um, Oftentimes, we as musicians will ignore what they're doing, especially if the tune is just a straight ahead groove kind of tune and there's not a lot of pushing and pulling of the tempos. It's when there is pushing and pulling of tempos that we really need to focus on the conductor. After all, their job is to steer the bus. For right or wrong, there are definitely some conductors that we musicians would hope would just let the groove happen and just stay the course. Other conductors like to push and pull to know that they've got control, whether there's any actual merit or reason for doing that, being whatever's going on stage. Sometimes it's just a matter of having control. But I want to give the conductors all the respect and attention that they are due. And oftentimes, that manipulating of tempos and that stretching and that pulling and so on has to do with other things that we can't see in the pit. When we're looking at, perpendicular to the stage at our music, we're not able to really watch all the nuances and the little subtle changes that are happening on stage. Some of which could be out of the hands of the singers and the actors. It may be a set piece that didn't come in soon enough, didn't go out fast enough, or in some occasions I've been on shows where set pieces of one is supposed to go out and the other is supposed to come in, and they both do the wrong thing and crash into each other, causing a little bit of a delay. So really keeping one eye on the conductor all the time to be able to, at a moment's notice, shift with that conductor is so important. And believe me, they really appreciate it when we do focus and are able to move with them that quickly. Sometimes it has to do with going back and, the conductor may be saying, okay, we got to go back to measure 133 and repeat that 4 times, to let a set piece come in, or another one go out, or maybe an actor has been falling asleep in their dressing room and they didn't make the stage in time. These things all do happen. So we just have to be really aware of what the conductor is doing. Also, I feel it's a sign of respect to watch the conductor, and in particular, when the conductor looks over at you and makes eye contact, I think it's really important to reciprocate. And I try to pick a spot in a show, it doesn't matter what the show is, but one little spot where I can have my own personal moment with the conductor. And it may be just a little glance, a little, sideways head nod. It who knows what it may be, but I think that shows a certain amount of respect to the conductor, and they will really appreciate that and know that you've got their back, musically speaking. So I think that really helps. It also helps in the longevity of staying in the business and keeping everybody happy. If a conductor looks over at the brass section, let's say, and nobody's looking up, and he or she is not able to push and pull, manipulate that tempo to fit what's going on stage, it's going to be a really frustrating time for that person. So I really feel like even if we don't enjoy that person's company socially, when we're there in the pit, we're doing a job, and that job is to watch the conductor play the best show possible, and respect the music and your colleagues around you. I think that's a really important thing too. We've probably all been in situations where we're working really hard, or we feel like we are, and we're bringing everything we can to the table and playing as musically wonderfully as we can. And around us, there may be people sort of phoning it in. And that gets pretty frustrating as far as a musician as well, in that, we're working really hard. We want everybody to work as hard to make the product for the audience as good as possible. So part of that focus is on the conductor, I think. Um, so once I've done all of that, we've talked about getting your head out of the page or off the page and being able to focus on other orchestration and the conductor itself. Then my next step is really memorizing the music and being able to keep the book closed the entire time. Although, for reasons I'll give you in a second, I don't ever do that. So, in memorizing, I'm sure there's people who have different processes that they go through, but for me, I like to look at a phrase and then glance away and play it, and then look at the next phrase, glance away, and play it again, so that I'm internalizing one phrase entirely at a time. Then, when that feels really comfortable, I'll glance at an entire page and attempt to play that all from memory. Pretty soon, one page leads to the next, and before long, you realize, oh, you haven't turned the page in 5 pages. Um, so that brings me to the first point why I still keep turning the pages. One is because it can happen to the best of anybody where your mind just wanders a little bit and you're wondering, oh, it's matinee time. I wonder, where's everybody going for dinner tonight in between shows? Or you've had a tough day at home and you've got things on your mind. It happens. And it's also happened to me where I've thought I've memorized things totally, and I have, but my mind goes elsewhere just for a minute. And if I haven't been turning those pages, I can't then glance at the page to see where I've gotten off and where I need to get back on. So for me, as a safety net, I just keep turning the pages. The other point, and probably more important point, is that the majority of my work, the last 18 to 20 years, has been touring with Broadway productions. And as lead trumpet player, as it is in any musical situation, the lead trumpet player is there to lead and lead by example. And there are times where I need to be able to call out a measure number. Now, when I'm touring, I'm all over the country, all over North America, mostly these days. And so we've got a different orchestra that we rehearsed. Every city we come to, there's a new set of musicians to listen for. So, one, that keeps things fresh for me. I've got new people to listen for. So that goes back to the focus as well. I'm able to focus on new things every city. But back to why I don't want to completely close the book and keep turning those pages is so that when I do need to help out my colleagues, a fellow musician, I'm able to see where we are in the music and be able to call out that that measure number, and it makes life so much easier for them as well. So that's part of my job to do that too. Um, so um, there are a few other exercises that I like to do, and these oftentimes, especially when I'm doing a master class with younger students, they'll often look at me kind of strange, like, now, have you completely lost it or what? Um, these Zen exercises, they've kind of come out of my years of studying different martial arts, in particular Aikido. And in Japanese, there's a word called Zanshin, Zanshin. And what that means, it's very handy. They have one word that describes the act of being in the moment, being present, fully present in the moment, and being completely aware of your surroundings and everything else, but only in the present, not in the past and not in the future. So this means that you're completely forgetting about other other instances of maybe you've made a clam or somebody else made a mistake. And rather than thinking about that, or if you've made the mistake, rather than dwelling on that and worrying about, oh, am I able to, am I going to make another mistake again? Oh man, I can't believe I made that mistake. That was such an easy thing. I should never have made that mistake. Well, dwelling on that and thinking on that in the past is going to make the present less focused. So I have a few different things that I like to do. Um, One is just imagine you're looking at a forest, nice big green forest, lots of big trees and so on. And what I want you to do is just imagine taking all of that information in, all of that visual information in. Look around and see, what are the colors of the trees? What are what's the height of the trees? What's the sunlight looking like poking through the forest? Then the next thing you do is pick a single tree, focus on that one tree, and really concentrate on that. Don't think about anything else. Obviously, the music has to come first. So this is only after you've really had, for me, a couple of months on the run of a show where I can start focusing on other things. So you pick that one tree and then pick a spot on that one tree. Maybe choose a leaf and then just observe, enjoy the color of that leaf. What color is it? Is it glistening from some dew or some rain, or is it very dry and crinkly? And then you may start to focus in a little bit tighter. Imagine there's a bug on the leaf of that tree in the forest. You see, we're tightening down the focus each step of the way. So then you look at that bug. Now observe that bug moving around a little bit, crawling on that leaf. Then start to notice the color of the bug, and then the wings on the bug, and how they might move and so on. So you can see that by focusing in a little tighter and tighter and tighter each step of the way, you're focusing more intently, and that means that it's going to be tough to focus on everything in front of you and everything behind you when you're so intently focusing on that one thing. So it brings the focus from a macro view to a micro view, and for me that really helps keep things focused so that I can show up every single day and remain present all the time. Um, Here's another possibly crazier exercise that I like to do. Now, I should preface it by saying I don't believe I'm actually able to spin the air in one direction or the other through the mouthpiece. But it's just another example of a way to really hyper focus on a Zen like exercise. So, what I do is, I'm focusing on my air and I'm focusing on the music and I'm trying to play the best show I can. But on the occasions where I feel like I need some more focus, maybe I've been more distracted that day for whatever reason, or if I've just been into the show 8 months and nothing really has changed, and I've got to make sure that I'm staying more present, I'll pretend that I'm able to spin the air clockwise through the mouthpiece. So I'll feel it going through, passing through my lips and hitting the bottom of the cup, and then try to imagine it spinning clockwise through the mouthpiece, and how fast I can get it or slow I can get it, depending on, let's say, the register. If I'm playing in the upper register, I want to maybe try and spin that air a little bit faster to create more of a buzz, more excitement. If I'm playing way down in the low register, maybe I want to make it much slower and a warmer sound. So I try to slow down the motion of that air spinning through the mouthpiece, and then I'll follow it through the lead pipe. And usually about that time, I'm not able to focus and watch it go all the way through the rest of the horn. But again, it's another example of how to how to focus your energies into a very finite little exercise. Then the next night you might want to try to spin it in a counterclockwise direction. Again, I don't think I'm able to do that, but it sure helps with the focus. Um, another thing I like to try to do, and maybe this is possible, is to really uh, excite the beat of the bell and get that vibrating really intently or intensely. And I'm not sure if that's exactly possible, but I feel like if I'm playing right down the center of the horn and I'm really resonant in the notes that are coming out, it'll excite that bell of the or that bead and the bell as well. And so that's another way that I really like to try and focus. So those are some examples of how to stay really in the Zanshin, in the present moment, and forget about any of your cares or mistakes or other people's mistakes, anything that's maybe happened before, and not be concerned about what's coming up, so that you're just staying in the moment all the time and present for every single show. This can be a real challenge, trust me, after 400 plus shows a year. And there's been some shows where I've not taken a single show off 52 weeks a year for 2 years straight. In fact, the previous tour I was just on of Aladdin, that was the case. I was gone from home playing 8 shows, sometimes 9 shows a week, and all the rehearsals and sound checks for 25 months straight. So it does take some game playing, I guess, to keep your focus going. But using these exercises, you can use them not just in a Broadway type of show, you can use them in any endeavor you're doing, be it music or not. It's just a way to really, really focus your energies and your thoughts to the here and now. So I just would like to thank ITG for this opportunity and having me do this little video for them for the Learn and Listen series. And I really appreciate everybody watching. Please stay safe out there and wear your masks. Okay, till next time.